Alright, we're back. This time we're going to talk about dry brushing and how you can use dry brushing to give highlights to your miniature. So we have the miniature we did from the previous video from the base coat. It's dried now. I gave it about 20 minutes or 30 minutes to let it dry. So you can see it's all ready to go. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is show you how to do dry brushing and then give you an example of too much dry brushing as well. So with a dry brush, I'm using a Citadel dry brush right here. And it's a small dry brush. I'm also using Citadel paint, but instead of using their dry brush paint, I still have their paint from 20 years ago. It's been that good, so I highly recommend this stuff. But I'm going to use their green, what they would use as a layer coat in these days. But to do that, I dip a little bit in there. You can see on the paintbrush, and then over in the paper here, I'm just going to keep getting it off of the brush until it's just barely showing up. So you can see on the lower section here, just barely showing up. So then I can go to the miniature, and you start slowly, and you put your brush at an angle. You don't want to be straight up and down. You want to be at an angle, and just slowly brush it on. And you can see it slowly puts the highlighting on the miniature. Now as you got a little bit less paint on it, you can do some of these things faster. So like I'll do the back here a little bit faster. And less is better than more, because with more you end up basically covering it so much that you can't see anything. You can't tell the difference in the highlight. Now you can see how it gets on the edges right there. Gets on the edges, and that's what we want. We want it basically to highlight the edges. Do a little bit on the gun so it gets its fingers. Gets the edges again on this. It doesn't take much to do it. Let me go on the arm. You notice I haven't had to re-dip the paint, because you can continue doing so much with so little on dry brushing. That little goes quite a ways. Now the darker the color and then the contrast being the lighter the color, again the less you need. But if they're close to each other, you might need a little bit more. But dry brushing is best when you have a darker contrast, and then you can do just a teeny bit. Now I remember in the previous video I talked about cleaning the miniature, what a non-clean looks like versus a clean. And we cleaned the leg right here. We didn't clean the leg on the bottom section, and maybe you can see it. But you see that line. There's that line that I talked about would show up if you didn't clean your brush, and it's not really showing up too much in the place where I cleaned it. It's showing up a little bit. But that has to do with the fact I didn't truly clean the miniature all the way through. So that's why you want to clean your miniature before you do anything with it, because those lines will show up. Now they're not drastic, but they... Alright, so we have the miniature now completed, and just that little bit of paint I used over here got down to that, and it was able to get the miniature to a nice clean dry brushing level like that. Okay, now here's what it looks like if you do too much dry brushing. My son did this one on his first attempt. You can see too much dry brushing has that type of effect, which if you have a camouflage type of unit, then that maybe looks what you want. But for a uniform consistency, it doesn't look too great. Now I did a little bit more on lightening or darkening this. I put a shade on it to darken it down a little bit, but even still, an excess amount like that causes, it really kind of takes away from what you really want. You really want more of the look, or at least the look I'm going with. It's just highlighting the miniature, and you still have the darker crevices, but the surface is is highlighted to give a effect of it just looks better. And that's dry brushing. The next thing we'll do is detailing, and then we will do shading after that. Thank you.